such a time as this.
And welcome back to For Such a Time as This, the place where there is no such thing as a silent witness. Discussing end times once again with Rick. Rick, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Pastor.
All right, Rick is going to lead us through the update with the war in the Middle East, and then we're going to discuss what is the mark of the beast, Rick?
Aspects of the mark of the beast, what it means.
What it means. Okay, before we get into the discussion, just want to give some play to our sponsors, Prestige Kitchen and Bath. Prestige Kitchen and Bath, as we continue to get, how can I say this, blackballed, canceled, shadow banned against all of the platforms that don't want to hear the Christian voice. We count on Prestige Kitchen and Bath to help us spread the content here at For Such a Time as This. Prestige and Bath, found at 1013 South Arlington Heights. Phone number there, you can see 847-348-0066. Prestige Kitchen and Bath. All right, Rick. First video here is going to be about the assassination of a high-ranking Hezbollah family member, I believe, and then we'll
very high-ranking Hezbollah.
and then we will give commentary on it. Here we go. Oops, that's not it. Let's go. Here we go. Prestige Kitchen and Bath. Visit Prestige Kitchen and Bath. Otherwise, here we go.
That's why the IDF, while continuing its war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip, is also managing a retaliatory operation against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. A recent example of the IDF's good management of war strategies in southern Lebanon was the IDF's planned assassination attack on the settlement of Naqoura, very close to Israel's northern borderline. The IDF claimed responsibility for the attack on a vehicle in Naqoura the previous day, saying that the attack targeted armed groups of the Imam Hussein division, who had been firing rockets into Israel. All three of the dead were reportedly members of the Imam Hussein division, an Iranian militia fighting alongside Hezbollah against Israel. However, one person among those eliminated by the IDF in this attack has attracted all the attention. This person turned out to be the person closest to the current leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah. The IDF reported that Abbas Ahmed Khalil, a member of the Imam Hussein department and grandson of Hezbollah Secretary General Hassan Nasrallah, was killed in an Israeli drone strike in southern Lebanon. Khalil's death takes the conflict to a personal level for Nasrallah. With the news of his death, his grandson has become directly involved in the conflict. Israeli sources reported that Ahmed Khalil's father also had deep ties to the armed group. Khalil's father, known as Abu Ali Nu, is not only Nasrallah's personal companion, but also an active participant in the conflict, serving alongside the Syrian regime and Iranian militias in Syria. This familial connection reveals the deep relationship between Hezbollah's leadership and its operations in the region.
Okay, Rick, I have a question for you. We keep hearing all these high-ranking officials on the Hezbollah side dying. Are there counterparts, Israeli high-ranking officials dying at the same rate?
I haven't heard of any dying yet.
Seems like they're losing. What do you tell me?
Hundreds of top commanders and generals and lieutenants, and every day there's one or two or three. But it's going to get personal now, because this was Nasrallah's grandson that was killed.
And Nasrallah is who?
He is the leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon, in his basement. He's like Biden. He's doing everything in the basement.
It better be a deep basement. All right.
Another interesting thing, Israel is using larger bombs now than they did in Gaza.
And in the north they are?
In Lebanon.
Why is that?
They said they're using larger munitions than they did in Gaza.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. We talked about this before. On March 10th, Ramadan starts, and that's when, to my understanding, Israel is still planning on starting the offensive, the last city holdout in Gaza. Is that still on?
That's still on.
March 10th?
March 10th.
What exactly is Ramadan? As we show prep, I'm listening to what they say Ramadan is, and I found it hilarious.
It wasn't in the Quran. I read happy days.
I have to look at that.
And love and peace.
Is Ramadan? Well, let's play it. Here's what they say Ramadan is. Here we go.
What's the reason that this important and holy month of Ramadan causes the State of Israel and democratic countries around the world to increase security alertness to the highest level? What causes them to hold preliminary talks with Arab and Muslim country leaders to negotiate, coordinate, alert, and warn? This distorted reality creeps me out every year again. So I would like to shed some light on this subject. According to the books of Islam, Ramadan is a month of introspection, cleansing of the soul, fasting, and in general, connecting man with his God. These sound like positive things. Muslims believe that this is also the month in which the Quran was sent down from heaven to guide the way to salvation. This is a month in which every Muslim in the world is supposed to multiply goodness, kindness, and love. It is a month meant to teach us what modesty, humility, sensitivity to others, compassion, and charity are. Among the customs of the month of Ramadan are fasting that lasts from the sunrise to the sunset. During the day, it is forbidden to eat or smoke. At the end of each day, the fast is broken with a prayer and a meal called iftar. After the meal, it is customary to go out and visit family and friends. The next day, Muslims start the fast all over again. At the end of the fast, the Muslims mark a special holiday called Eid al-Fitr, the holiday of breaking the fast. In the month of Ramadan, it is forbidden to lie, be greedy, slander, or swear in vain, and it is customary to go to the mosque to pray and study the Quran.
So you can lie, cheat, steal, and kill in Islam, just not in the month of Ramadan.
No, but they do this in the month of the introduction where he says all the democratic states are getting together with political leaders and police and to ramp up for all these bad things that happen during Ramadan, the time of peace and love and introspection.
Yeah, I got a feeling they're going to experience Ramadan in a whole new way this year.
This year, yes.
Starting March 10th. He continues explaining what Ramadan is.
Speaking of the October 7th massacre, the Quran strongly opposes murder, rape, slaughter, beheading, burning a person, looting, and kidnapping. The Quran warns this murderous rampage on fundamentalist Muslims who have no God. There is a worst-case scenario the Israeli security system is preparing for. This scenario includes a flare-up of violence along the seam lines between Arab and Jewish neighborhoods of Jerusalem and other cities, and increasing riots and individual attacks. This might include car ramming, stabbing, and even shooting attacks, both inside Israel and in Judea and Samaria. There are also concerns about attempts to inflame the Temple Mount during prayers and sermons, as well as attempts for Muslims to stay on top of the Temple Mount at night so they can try to harm Jewish worshippers at the Western Wall when they come for prayers at dawn.
So Ramadan starts this Sunday, March 10th, and so look for an escalation in the Middle East. Wow.
And especially since we're going to Rafah, this is going to be a big deal.
That's the last holdout in the Gaza Strip
for the
city
militants.
of Rafah.
Yeah.
And it starts Sunday. When Ramadan starts Sunday.
Right.
Interesting.
And the assault but they're already assaulting Rafah. Yesterday they had 40 simultaneous attacks on areas in Khan Yunis and Rafah at one time. tanks, airplanes, infantry. Israel's not letting up.
Also in the news here in the U.S., we also see our glorious, competent, high-energy leader, President Biden, says that he is getting aid to the Palestinians, and he's ramping this up. He's ramping up this effort to get food to the Gaza Strip. This next video actually talks about this riot they had over there concerning the food over there. Here we go.
The U.S. move came amid the continuing controversy swirling over Thursday's deadly events when Gazans swarmed an aid convoy, causing some 100 deaths. The U.S. managed to block efforts by Arab nations for a UN Security Council statement that would have blamed Israeli forces for the incident, in which most victims were trampled as thousands stampeded and run over while trying to take aid from the convoy of trucks. The IDF spokesman carefully explained Israeli efforts to prevent the mob in northern Gaza from endangering IDF forces trying to maintain order.
No IDF strike was conducted towards the aid convoy. I want to repeat that. No IDF strike was conducted towards the aid convoy. On the contrary, the IDF was there conducting a humanitarian operation to secure the humanitarian corridor and allow the aid convoy to reach its designated distribution point.
The Army spokesman explained the role of the Army in the incident.
As you can see in this video, the tanks that were there to secure the convoy sees the Gazans being trampled and cautiously tries to disperse the mob with a few warning shots. When the hundreds became thousands and things got out of hand, the tank commander decided to retreat to avoid harm to the thousands of Gazans that were there.
The U.S. said that the incident was dire and needed to be investigated.
We are urgently seeking additional information on exactly what took place. We have been in touch with the Israeli government since early this morning and understand that an investigation is underway. We will be monitoring that investigation closely and pressing for answers.
It seems like the Biden administration is more concerned with getting aid to the Gazans than they are of getting our own hostages back, of getting the Israeli hostages back. I don't understand. I'm not smart enough to understand that. Rick, help me out.
Well, Biden's political stance, they just had the vote in Michigan, and Biden, there's a huge, in Dearborn, Michigan, a huge Muslim population. They all said, we're not voting for Biden.
They voted undecided
or something, and that really
over 100,000. They wanted to get 10,000, they got 100,000.
And so Biden's scared to death about his political life. So that's his motive. But the thing is, this is just like the thing that happened at the hospital where Gaza, the Hamas sent a rocket that blew up in a parking lot and killed a bunch of people, and they blamed it on Israel. Here, Israel is helping the trucks get into Gaza, so the 1.5 million people can. But
since when do we feed the enemy? So when did that happen in war? Did we feed the Germans, the German citizens in Berlin in 40s? I don't think we did.
No, we didn't. But regardless of what happens, Hamas steals all the food. That's why all the people are rushing to the truck.
Yeah, after we dropped the bomb, the atom bomb on Japan, did we then drop food for the rest of Japan? No. I don't know. All right, hostages. There's some issues with the hostages, and the issue is there's still hostages going on. Here's the next clip.
Gerald, last night the families of hostages, joined by many thousands, completed their march from the Gaza border to Jerusalem, held a big rally in Jerusalem. There was another one in Tel Aviv. Is this pressure making it easier or harder for the government to reach an agreement?
That's a matter of debate. But the families of the hostages feel like they have to do something to keep that issue, their loved ones that are being kept in who knows what kind of conditions, in the worst possible conditions in Gaza, inhuman conditions. They want to keep that issue very much at the top of the world agenda and the Israeli agenda, and therefore they're doing marches like this and other events. So it's understandable. What effect that has? Well, a number of people, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, have said that has a counterproductive impact on the negotiations, because it highlights the value of those hostages, and therefore Hamas can extract a higher price. More terrorists being released, which Israel's refusing to do. By the way, one of the most important aspects of this, which doesn't get discussed, Hamas has refused to turn over a list of the hostages that are alive.
Yeah, there's still, I'm sorry, it's no negotiation. Biden, I don't want to hear you until you give back not only the Israeli hostages, they're still American hostages, aren't they?
There was 31 American
goodness.
hostages taken, and he hasn't mentioned them at all.
At all. He's more concerned with feeding the Palestinians than getting the American citizens back that Hamas still holds as hostages. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make it up.
It's surrealistic.
Unbelievable. All right. If that wasn't enough, there's some issues going on with Egypt now. Egypt, and watch out. Here we go.
According to the military, tens of thousands of Israeli troops, hundreds of tanks and armored vehicles and fighter jets were waiting for the Rafah operation. The Rafah operation also meant risking the lives of millions of civilians in order to neutralize 10 to 20,000 Hamas members who may or may not be among the more than 1 million civilians. The world powers, especially Egypt, are trying to take precautions in this regard. Egypt has built a 240-kilometer-long barrier on the Rafah border, along with heavy air defense systems, main battle tanks, and a huge army. In Rafah, the Palestinian population of 1.4 million is anxiously waiting for the Israeli army's planned ground offensive. The Egyptian government, too, seems alarmed by the Israeli ground offensive, as it's finalizing all its military preparations. The Egyptian army has already deployed 4 large tank divisions, heavy armored vehicles, and missile systems on the Rafah border. This unorthodox preparation of the Egyptian army in response to the Israeli attack on Rafah raises further concerns. At the same time, the White House and its representatives have dramatically warned Israel about the chaos between the Gaza Strip and Rafah. President Joe Biden is reported to have taken the same position. Biden probably did not want Israel to confront Egypt and the humanitarian crisis in Rafah to reach an irreversible level. For this reason, the U.S. government's very striking statements against Israel on the Rafah issue had a great impact on the agenda. The Israeli Prime Minister insists that the Rafah operation will...
All right. Things are heating up on the Egyptian border. What, are they afraid that Israel's going to keep going in, and they're going to go into Egypt? Why
I don't think they're
deploying?
afraid they're going into Egypt. They're concerned that the Palestinians are going
to try to cross the border into Egypt.
Right.
And so... You mean they're not welcoming them in with open arms?
No, not like our southern border where we welcome everybody in. We welcome in terrorists and Chinese military people.
Wow. So instead of letting them cross the border into Egypt, into the safety of Egypt, they're going to gun those people down. Yet Israel is
the bad guys.
Is the bad guys. Egypt is going to gun those people down if they try to cross the Egyptian border into Egypt. Okay. All right. You can't make this stuff up, Rick. Can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
All right. Transitioning into the theological aspect concerning end days, it is the topic of, what is it again? The mark of the beast. All right. We want to start off with Revelation 15?
Revelation 13, verses 15 through 18.
Oh, I thought it was Revelation 15.
No, I'm sorry. It was 13.
And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast. It talks about the mark, right? Oh, maybe
it goes in, yes.
15. Maybe I messed up and put, but I got 15 here. And it was allowed to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast and be slain. Also, it caused all, both small and great, both rich and poor, free and slave, to be marked on the right hand and the forehead. Is that it?
Yes,
that's it, right?
That's the verse. Yeah.
Okay, to be marked on the hand and the forehead. Continuing through 17, it says, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. So he's saying this is not easy. This won't be easily decipherable at the time. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. And his number is 666. All right, Rick, take it away.
So there's a couple of things here. First of all, Satan is a counterfeit. He counterfeits everything God does. So we have the Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
We have the false prophet, the second beast, which is a picture of which contradicts the Holy Spirit, and then we have Satan, who's the counter to God the Father. So we have an unholy trinity trying to placate itself as the Holy Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have the mark of the beast. So what's important about the mark? A mark designates ownership. We have cattle today, and you brand cattle, and that tells you, oh, this belongs to this ranch or that ranch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, slaves were marked in the old days as they were ownerships. So the mark designates ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody owns you, you're their slave.
Mm-hmm.
You're submissive to them, and you're dependent on them. And so what this comes down to, are we as Christians going to rely on God, or are we going to rely on the lies of the Antichrist and the false beast?
Well, so far the answer is the Antichrist is the leading candidate for the world right now. They're relying on the Antichrist.
Yeah, if
unfortunately,
if Gaza is any indication of this, yes. So what's interesting though, Pastor, is that the whole world is moving toward dependence on government.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be all of a day. Oh, today we're going to take care of it. It's moving.
Those riots in Europe.
Yes.
I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on in South America with these leaders that are being, in direct opposition to these governments. Heck, here in the United States of America. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The government right now in the United States of America is doing everything against the interests of its own citizens within its own party. The black people here in Chicago on the west side and the south side are furious at the Obama administration for what they're doing with illegal immigration. But they don't care.
Yeah, the Democratic Party doesn't
care. They don't care.
This is interesting. On verse 16b, it says, this is who gets the mark. Everyone small, great, rich and poor, free and slave. What's interesting about that, there's no middle class mentioned. The government's trying to do away with the middle class. The middle class is a problem for governments.
Doing a good job of it.
Because they're self-reliant. They don't want to depend on the government. They have self-control, but governments do not want the middle class. So now the next thing we go to is in verse 17. So the purpose of the mark is to control. Control. This is what Mayer Amashel Rothschild quoted in September 29th, 2012. He says, "Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes the laws."
Yeah, that was way before 2012, though. You're right.
Yeah.
Sure, when 1812, something like that. No. Yeah.
So
yeah.
If you control,
that's a famous quote. Yeah.
So anyway, the mark of the beast is not in effect now. Some people said it was the vaccine. Some people say it's credit cards. Some people say it's crypto.
Yeah.
It's not in effect yet.
No, that may be the underlying technology that's going to be used, But the mere fact that we can buy and sell without a mark, that's not the Antichrist. No.
Well, this is interesting. And they're talking about this in the United States. Over in China, you have a credit card score.
Yeah.
Just to bring your social
score.
Your
Yes.
social score.
Yes.
And that determines what you can buy and sell.
Yes.
And
yes.
Let's see. They also have vaccine passports.
Yes.
And,
all connected to a social score. Yep. So you want to make a real quick thing on Deuteronomy 6:4?
Yeah, Deuteronomy 6:4. It's interesting. The mark of the beast, it says it goes on the hand or the forehead.
Yeah.
But in Revelation, in Deuteronomy 6:4 through 8, it says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes." So here, Satan is counterfeiting. God's word should be in our mind, and it should be in our hands. We should be working. There should be the connection between our mind and our hands, and our worshiping God. So here, another counterfeit.
Another
aspect.
counterfeit. Yeah. I was wondering, like, Rick, why are you going to Deuteronomy? Okay. Yeah, it's a counterfeit. It's a counterfeit. Yeah. So. Oh, well, I believe so we're going to be off next week, actually, because I'm out of town next Tuesday. Probably we'll get one in maybe Thursday of next week.
Yeah.
But because I got a feeling there's going to be a lot to talk about next week. Ramadan is this Sunday.
We'll probably need a 2-hour show.
My 2-hour show. Depending on how bad it gets, it may be a round table discussion next week. But
yeah, exactly.
But thank you all for listening. Again, we are commanded to keep watch for our Lord. Until then, spread his gospel, preach his truth, and may the name of Jesus be glorified forever. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you all for listening. Until next time.
For such a time as this,